All right, Stephanie Peacock, welcome back to the Urban Pharmacy. How are you today?
Thank you. Hi, Stacey. Thank you. I'm great. Thank you for having me back on the podcast. I'm so excited to talk to you today about all things plant-based goodness, I'm sure.
Yes. So Steph and I like DM way too much about food and because we love it and we're always in our Instagram stories and I'm commenting on her food, she's commenting on mine. We have some crazy obsession with different squashes, etc. And I thought that it would just be a fun episode to talk about food and to talk about how yummy it is and how delicious eating whole plants can be, and to hopefully give you some inspiration because Steph is really great at creating recipes and different flavors and she really appreciates it. So I get it. And she gets my appreciation for delicious flavors and foods and seasonal produce. And I think we just need to kind of geek out for a minute.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I will say too, I feel like with our foods, like I mean, your food always looks amazing for sure, but I would say mine always comes out like a blob, but it is delicious, right? Like it's like I'm mixing like 20 things together and I'm like, this is heaven. It doesn't look good, but it's delicious.
No, for sure. And that's
Right?
why it's so difficult, I'm sure, for you as well to create recipes and to post them because most of
Yeah.
the time we're just kind of getting in the kitchen and we're like, oh, thyme would be delicious. Oh, oregano with that, right? Like,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
we're throwing all the things in and it doesn't end up looking good. So I appreciate you saying that my food always looks pretty, but like it is typically just like a whole mishmash of things.
Yeah.
Or it's very, very simple, like 7 kiwi, like not, just
Not
very,
hard.
very simplistic.
Yeah.
But when you appreciate the different flavors of food and when you kind of release yourself from the pleasure trap, from the over processed foods, you too, as a listener, can be you can appreciate food just as much as Steph and as I do. These whole natural foods. And so, what I want to do today, Steph, and we just so you know, as a listener, I want you to know that Steph has no idea how I'm going to guide this conversation, but I have just like a little bit of a structure that I think that we could do to help inspire you. And I'm thinking what we're going to do, Steph, is to go through the sections of whole plant eating, which would be whole grains, legumes and beans, fruits, veggies, nuts, and seeds. And then maybe we can talk through a few different ways to make a recipe out of these different sections that we talk about because I want to know your favorite one out of the group and then I'll talk about my favorite one out of the group and we can create recipes on the fly.
It's like it's pretty much like we're cooking together. That's like
We're
what we're doing.
cooking. We're
We're
like
cooking.
in like the Iron Chef like competition or whatever
Yeah.
that might be. Like, and we're gonna create. What is that called? Yeah, the show where they give them all these random ingredients and then they have to make things,
Yeah.
or
Like the
in the Iron Chef challenge, right? Yes.
yeah, this is great.
So
I
let's
love
do
it.
this. Okay.
All right.
So I'm gonna ask you first. Let's start with whole grains because I don't know. Let's just start there. What is your favorite whole grain?
Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, so seriously, again, going back to blobs, I'll literally mix like 3 to 5 different whole grains together to make like this
Ooh.
crazy, just like mishmash of like foods, and I'm adding in like different spices and all these different things. But seriously, I have to say, like, I think my favorite whole grain is probably, oh God. I honestly, it's seriously a mix between buckwheat, quinoa, and rice. I'm obsessed with all three. I
Okay,
don't
okay, let's talk about buckwheat because buckwheat is really good for
know.
you. And like
So good.
I mean, okay, so it's just really good. All right. Let's not even get into the nutrition today. Let's just it's good for you,
So
okay?
good.
And how do you make yours not slimy or mushy?
You know what? I think mine actually kind of comes out a little bit mushy. And that's the thing,
Okay.
right? It's like, but here's the beauty of it is that if you can just add in, like what you were saying, what Stacey was saying before about adding in different spices, different herbs, even like making your own sauces and just like pouring it over it. Like you can create something that is absolutely just amazing. And that's like the beauty of plant-based too, because it's really just adding in a bunch of different spices, a bunch of different herbs, add in some fresh garlic, add in some fresh onion, right? Just different things like that, and just mix it all together. And there's like an amazing meal. So I would have to say that I think mine comes out just a little bit mushy, but sometimes what I do is I will cook it, right? So I boil it. I'll usually cook it in my Instant Pot just because sometimes I don't have a ton of time. So I'll cook it in my Instant Pot with some water or whatever and some spices. And then I just let it cool off. And then I'll actually put it into the oven and I will let it bake probably for about like 10 to 15 minutes. And then that actually helps it to become, that's what I do if I'm trying to unmushify it. And it will actually kind of dry it out just a little bit. So that's what I usually like to do with my buckwheat.
Well, I really like that new word, unmushify. That's absolutely incredible.
So
And that's a really good tactic, because buckwheat can be like, I see a lot of people eating raw buckwheat. Like it's an interesting grain slash seed. And I think that it can be like porridge, right? Like that. So if you're going to go and you're going to experiment with buckwheat, which I think that both Steph and I could for sure advocate for, like just expect a little bit of a porridge like consistency, but also know that the flavor of it is so modifiable. It's like pretty bland, and you can absolutely create amazing flavors. I love that. I love that you put it in the oven. I've got to kind of like, I got to try that. And I really like how you mix grains together, because then you're getting even a more complex array of amino acids. That just is smart. I love it.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
So we can bake buckwheat, and then I guess the other way that we could prepare it is to look into some raw buckwheat recipes. And then also, Steph, you can make buckwheat flour. I love using buckwheat flour.
So yeah, I've actually never made buckwheat flour, but that is so true. And that's what I love about it too, is that you can I've made like pancakes from buckwheat flour. Like I've baked with buckwheat flour. Like it is so easy. And it's pretty like hearty too. So it's like, it just kind of gives that, like whatever you're eating, like a little extra oomph. So it feels like you're really getting like satiety from it.
It's for sure satiating. And it is a good protein source. And just fun fact for those of you that might be freaking out thinking, gosh, I want to try buckwheat, but I'm so sensitive to gluten. It is totally gluten-free. It's not a wheat. It just happens to have that word in it, which is such a bad marketing tactic. But yeah, it's just not good. Okay. So you love buckwheat. We've got some ideas to do with buckwheat. I am going to say that my favorite whole grain, and this is very hard. This is literally so
it's so hard because there's so many.
Can I just say two at the same time? No. I really do like brown rice. I'm not going to lie. Love it. I like white rice too. It's not a whole grain though. It's refined, whatever. But I really like farro. I think now if you do have a gluten sensitivity, this is an ancient wheat. So just be mindful of that. Maybe getting it sprouted might do you better. But it's good. And it has this bite to it. And like the first time that I tried it, it was Ina Garden. She had like a farro salad, the Barefoot Contessa. And I remember making a huge batch of it and just, oh my God, I just devoured it. It's like toothsome. And the way that I prepared it was with like pomegranate seeds. And I think there was like fresh parsley in there. I think I made it for Thanksgiving one year, and maybe it had like some citrus in there, and it was so good. And I love it. I just
that sounds amazing. And if anyone's picturing that right now, right? Like, I mean, it probably, the way you're saying with pomegranate seeds and the citrus and everything, like it probably just came out like a nice little, like a big mix of food. Like it was kind of like a blob, right? But it wasn't beautiful, but that sounds amazing. Like you probably had all these different spices in there, knowing you and your herbs and all these different things. And but that sounds so good because you're adding in all these different things. And that's the beauty of this way of eating, is that it doesn't have to look good. You can just add in like 5 different things added to your grains. And like, there you have it. You have like a mix of amazing different like seeds and citrus and fruits. and you can add
Yes.
in just different grains. So it sounds so good.
Yum. Oh my gosh. Okay. So good. So I'm trying to think of another way that you could use farro. I think that you could totally throw farro into like chili, like three bean chili, because it's
Sure.
not like rice where it gets like kind of glutinous. It just holds up. So everybody
Yeah.
needs to try farro.
Yeah, I would say honestly, I have not experimented with farro. Like I really haven't. So
Ooh, it's
yeah,
really good.
I
It's
need
to the tooth. It's
mhm.
toothsome. You're
I've
gonna
had
love it.
it at restaurants and I'm always just like,
Oh
this is
yes.
so good. I've had it mixed with like sweet potato and I thought
Oh,
that was like unbelievable. It
oh my
was just,
God. That sounds
yeah,
really
it was
good.
like roasted sweet potato alongside some farro. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is the heaven. So yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so whole grains, check.
Check.
Let's just add a few other whole grains that everybody needs to know about. Teff,
Definitely.
millet, but I just found out that millet is actually not a specific grain. It's just it just means a small grain. So anyway,
Oh,
that's a fun
really?
fact.
That is
Yeah, I literally just learned that. I heard it twice in like 2 days. I was like, what? Okay. Okay, I got the point. I don't even remember where I hear it or where I heard it either. I listened to so many like food podcasts and stuff like that. So anyway, teff and millet, and we've got the rice. There's black rice, there's brown rice. Make sure you rinse it first. What other whole grains?
I was gonna go off of the rice too, because I was gonna make sure that you mentioned the forbidden rice, that black rice, because it is truly like one of the most delicious rice that I've ever had. And the first time I had it, I didn't know it existed until I started working at True North Health Center, and then they were making that probably like twice a week, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is just absolutely amazing. Like it didn't even need anything on it, like any
Oh, it's so good.
I know.
I buy
So
it in bulk and it is well worth the price. It's very expensive. Wild rice is very expensive too, but like,
I love wild rice.
oh
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. The red rice. Yeah, you
Oh,
said white rice isn't, but I love white rice too. So it's all good.
yeah. Oh my God. Okay. So, all right. Beans now. Let's move on to like beans and legumes. Like, where are you? What's your, I don't know. Should I go first on this one?
Yeah, go first.
You know what? I'm going to go first. I'm going to talk about how much I love adzuki beans. Now, I actually will admit that I get a little bit confused because I've heard them called and been labeled adzuki or aduki.
Oh, I call it a Zuki, but I
Well,
don't
like even on labels, they are also known as aduki. So I'm super confused. Now, I don't know if they're actually two different ones, but I do know that both of them are little red beans and they're
know.
consumed by Asian populations. And I learned about them in a macrobiotic book and in Alicia Silverstone's The Kind Diet, which was the original book that actually helped me transition to eating plant-based.
Oh, amazing.
And they're really good because they take on any flavor that you use them for. I believe these are the beans that are used to make mochi. Um,
Oh my
no,
God.
I'm sorry. Mochi is made from brown rice. Don't listen to me. But I think that they make the little steamed buns, like the little like Japanese steamed
Oh, I
buns
know.
or whatever. The red beans that they make red bean paste out of is from adzuki beans. And
No
so
way.
in like Asian populations, adzuki beans are actually used kind of in a sweet application, like for desserts. But I just love them in place of like a black bean or whatever, and they're super nutritious. And I think that, because
Not.
of the color, we're getting really awesome phytonutrients. And I just think that they're like in bulk in a big black or big glass jar in my pantry. And I've had them for over 10 years. And I think that they're something fun that everybody needs to experiment with.
Yum, 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 yum. That sounds amazing. So what do you like? How do you like what do you do? Do you just like mix it in like a big mishmash of like other things, or like what's kind of like your favorite way of like preparing it?
Well, yeah, I just like to seek out different types of beans. So I'm like a big stickler for like the big giant white lima beans and like just
Uh,
different things other than garbanzo beans and black beans and pinto beans that everybody's used to. I have different varieties, like the Christmas lima beans, the ones that are like red and white striated, right? And I literally just will replace those beans in different applications, just like you would use them like in chili. That's pretty much my experiment with like adzuki beans. But if we were to talk about those giant lima beans now, that's a different story. I usually will make like a roasted red pepper and lemon juice and like parsley or cilantro, like bean salad. That's just ridiculously good. And reduced balsamic vinegar in there. Yes.
Oh, wow. That sounds incredible.
So
That
good.
sounds so good. So yeah, you actually mentioned my favorite bean.
Which
It's the
one?
Christmas bean, that Christmas one. I am obsessed with it. And I haven't made like a dish with it in probably a couple months, but I need to because it has, again, it's like that forbidden black rice where it's just like the flavor is bursting without you having to add anything to it. Like it is so good. I could just eat like an entire bowl full of it. And it's like there's
Yes.
these flattened like bigger beans and they're just so good and like hearty. I just love them.
Oh,
And but I will say that is my favorite. But then my favorite, like you mentioned, like black, pinto, garbanzo. My other favorite's actually just garbanzo beans because I love that you can, and it's gonna sound weird probably to some people, but you know, like you can bake with them, which is what I
yes.
love making. I love making like these like turmeric cookies out of garbanzo beans. Like I'm literally obsessed with it because I just love to try to, as like you do too, adding in different spices to like all different kinds of baking or cooking or whatever it is, right? But like, yeah, garbanzo beans will make muffins or cookies taste really like moist and they hold up really well. So that's probably like my other favorite bean because it's different than like traditional where and you can use black beans too for like brownies and stuff, but I think black beans, I've just eaten so many in my life
Yes.
I'm like, okay, I need a different bean. But yeah, those are probably my two favorite beans. Are the
Yes. Everybody needs to get into the bean game. And a tip that I have is that if you find that they're making you gassy, and I want to know if you have any tips too, Steph, on how you're helping your clients eat more beans. But like just start really low and slow, right? Like a tablespoon, then maybe the next day 2 tablespoons. Like and let your gut microbes get stronger and be able to handle the beans. But then also to start with like lentils. Lentils are the easier ones to digest
yeah.
in that category.
Mhm.
Do you have any extra tips?
Yeah, the only other tip that I have for that, and that's actually exactly what I tell my clients too that aren't used to eating like a higher fiber diet, right? Or they're transitioning more into plant-based, or maybe they just stayed away from beans for a while. Like, I don't know what the case is, but everyone's a little bit different. But yeah, I always start with eating like 1 to 2 like tablespoonfuls like a day and just kind of just see how you tolerate that. Kind of the same thing with like fermented foods, right?
Yes.
Like start low and slow and then work your way up to maybe like 6 tablespoons or like we talked about your when I did that chat with your community there, like half a cup, right? Anyways,
Yes.
back to beans. Soaking them overnight is like a really great way too. I like to do that maybe with a little baking soda. I find that actually helps me as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's like what I'll do as well. But like you said too, lentils is like a great way to start. Absolutely, if you're just starting to get into the bean game. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Love that. And yes, shameless plug. For those of you who have been eyeing coming into Holistic Mama Society, Steph is actually a guest speaker in there, and she taught us all about detoxification pathways. So make sure that know that you not only follow Steph and understand her services, but also know that you can learn from Steph in HMS as well. So okay, let's move on to veggies because I feel like I have to save fruit for the end because I don't know why. But maybe it's my favorite. I can't really decide because we're in veggies now and I don't this is just let's break it up into two things because we have to talk about the starchy veggies and the non-starchy veggies.
Sounds good to me.
What's your favorite veggie that's non-starchy?
Okay, all right. I think for me, this is okay for veggies, yeah. Um, uh, Gosh, my favorite non-starchy veggie. This is so hard because I probably eat like sometimes my husband makes fun of me because I will like find ways to pack in a million different veggies. Like whatever I'm making for dinner is like a giant like conglomerate of like he's like, what are you doing? And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just have to add in all these things. Okay. So I think that my favorite non-starchy veggie, sorry, this is taking me a while because seriously, I just love vegetables so much. Oh my gosh, maybe it's
Do you want me
broccoli.
to go first?
Yeah, can you
Do
go
you need
first?
some time to think about this stuff?
Yes, I think I need time to think about this. I
Oh
think I
my
have a
God.
couple in mind, but I think you should go because I know I
This
have.
is hard.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
really is hard. I'm gonna go with cauliflower because I freaking love it. I'm obsessed with cauliflower rice at the moment, so that's what we're gonna go with. Now, I will also say that quite obsessed with daikon radish, but it has to be braised. So if nobody has tried braised daikon radish, that was actually another recipe that's in the Kind Diet by Alicia Silverstone, and it is bomb. And they actually end up cooking up and looking like scallops, which is bizarre. So weird because you cut them like in big, thick coins. And depending on the sauce that you put on, they might just taste very similar as well. But anyway, back to cauliflower. It's not like the most easily digestible non-starchy vegetable for my body, but to me, it's not really I don't care too much because I'm just love the flavor so much. And I really love and appreciate cauliflower rice because you can make it like, you can put them in oats and you can make them even like sweet, or you can put them like in a savory application. And I really love cauliflower at the moment.
You know what I love putting cauliflower rice in is like if I make nice cream, like I like to put
Oh,
it in that because it takes on the like it takes on the flavor of a lot of
yes.
food, right? Because it's yeah. So
Perfect for smoothies, but I've never thought about an ice cream.
yeah, I'll put it in like sometimes I make like a little breakfast nice cream or something after my workout
Ah.
in the morning. And yeah, I think it goes like so well in there. I'm obsessed with it. So and it's a
Wow.
great way to add in like extra veggies.
Are you just adding just the straight frozen cauliflower rice?
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
That's
fascinating. That's so
yeah.
fascinating. I bet it's kind of like whippy too, because it kind of creates like a whipped texture.
Yeah, I think it's like incredible. I actually learned it from someone, like another one of my friends that was doing that. And I was just like, that's an awesome idea. So, cause I'm always trying to add in like, obviously like veggies and stuff like frozen spinach or whatever to like nice green. But anyways, cauliflower.
Yes.
I love that. And
What's your
I love that you gave a little bit of a shout out to cauliflower because I feel like it gets pushed under the rug a lot. So that
and
was
it's a source of sulforaphane. And people aren't huge broccoli fans. And I have a thyroid issue. And sometimes broccoli makes me feel like I love broccoli. Maybe it's because I'm eating ahead at a time that I don't. It's not my fault. My husband brings freaking broccoli home from the farm, and like I've never had broccoli taste so good in my life. Like I don't know. It's just so good. You can't stop. But like cauliflower, I don't know. It's another source of sulforaphane and it doesn't make me feel that way. So I like it and appreciate
I'm sure it loves you back. So
it.
it appreciates you. I do love cauliflower too. Okay. So I thought about it. So when you first put me on the hot spot, I was going to say broccoli because I actually love broccoli, but it's between broccoli and Brussels sprouts for me because
Oh, yeah.
I think I make it with Brussels sprouts because I just am obsessed with them. Like I love either putting them into like a skillet with like 3 or 4 different other vegetables, like some broccoli, some the herbs, obviously, and some onion, whatever, and just like sauteing like with some water or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can like roast them and you can put them into like with like different squashes, put some like nuts in there, drizzle a little bit of like dates or I don't know. California balsamic goes so good on top of them. Like I just love them. So I think Brussels sprouts are probably my favorite. Yeah, I just think that they're so good. Or you can even Chef AJ has this awesome recipe I used once that was like, I think it was like Dijon mustard and
Ooh.
like balsamic or something, and you just mix it up together and you put it in an air fryer, and that was incredible too. So I just think they're just amazing. So
Yum, yum. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's
Brussels.
move on. Let's move on to starchy veggies. Sorry, my son came in here. A little bit of a detour there. Okay, let's talk about starchy veggies. Oh, hold on. My son is in the room. 1 second.
You're doing
Okay, so we're back. Let's talk about starchy veggies. I can't choose, so you have to go first.
Okay, this is actually this is a hard one, obviously, but yeah, Japanese sweet potatoes are by far my absolute favorite one. I cannot get enough of them, seriously.
So the ones with the red skin.
Yeah, they're kind of like that reddy, purpley skin, not full on purple, but like kind of like that red skin that are white on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And Yeah, and it's funny because a lot of my clients, they've never tried them. They've never even heard of them because usually typically people go for like the russet, the Yukon Gold, the orange sweet potatoes. But once you try these potatoes, you honestly cannot go back. They're so full of a million different types of nutrients. They're so good for you. And also what's amazing about them is that they're so sweet. If you eat it for breakfast, it'll feel like you're eating cake for breakfast because they
Yeah.
are that sweet. And like if you roast them like in the oven, like you don't just microwave it, but if you just roast them in the oven for like an hour, and you just let it like slow roast, they're so incredible. So they're like almost caramelized, like sweet.
Yes.
So I think that's probably my favorite, but I'm just gonna insert that kabocha squash is my other favorite
Yeah.
because like the best squash in the world, even though I know you just tried a squash that you said was even better than kabocha. So you have to talk about that. So I can't remember the name. And then
Curry squash.
curry squash. Yeah, I need to try that. I still have to try that. And then I love like just the purple Okinawan potatoes too.
Ah,
Not as sweet, but they're so good. So
that's what I was just gonna say. I think that that's my favorite starch.
really.
Yeah, I'm pretty obsessed with the Okinawans. I really just like I don't know. They have my heart. They're white on the outside, they're purple on the inside. Once you cook them, they're turned fully purple. And I just feel like they're so high in anthocyanins. And I'm like just like protecting my body when I eat them
Yeah.
because I don't eat a ton of blueberries. Like I could and I should eat more berries. That's something that, I'm more like a banana, mamey sapote, like creamy fruit type of girl. I really do like grapes too, though. Grapes are my thing. Oh, hold on. We're not even on the fruit section. I can't,
Oh
hold on.
yeah,
Do
you're
you see what's
veering off.
happening? This
Yeah.
is bad. The purple, I just love them. I love the denseness of them. I love how like thick and starchy they are. They just make me feel so satiated and happy. But I also really love kabocha squash and like Hubbard squash. I mean, I want to encourage the listeners to go right. I mean, if I'm not sure when I'm going to air this, but like fall time, you need to get to your grocery store, your local like health food grocery store in particular, and get the different colors of squash. Get experience like the big ones that are like ugly that you're like, what in the world is this gonna even come out like? They're way better than butternut or butternut squash.
Or
Like
spaghetti squash.
butternut squash is like an orange sweet potato to me these days. I'm like, ew, like
I
that is so overrated.
It's so overrated. I completely agree with you. I've been off the butternut train for probably like 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah.
I just can't even touch it because I
It's
just
just like what, just no,
yeah.
like that's not the level. No, no. Like
Yeah,
we're going up a notch, and
pretty much.
it's time to experience new foods and to feed our microbiome all of these different nutrients. It's just going to strengthen your immune system. So you got to get out of the box, right?
For sure.
So my favorite way to eat the Okinawan sweet potatoes is to literally just throw like 10 of them. My family is quite obsessed too. It's not just me. The boys will eat a lot with me. I will just throw like 10 into the instant pot and just hit, I think it's like 13 minutes. And I don't release the steam. I just let that do its thing on its own. And like I've got a big old vat of like steam pressure cooked potatoes. Now, I will say roasting them is next level and it will be a totally different flavor and just
Mhm.
ridiculously good. But the ones that we do in the instant pot, we can literally just walk around like it's a banana and eat it. Like don't put it past us to do that. But it also comes out in this great texture to be able to just cut them up and like throw on like in copious amounts onto greens and like build a salad
Yeah.
with like red onion and green onion and just different flavors. And they're just so pretty. They just bring me an insane amount of joy.
I
So
love it. That's a great tip too. And I love that you said that because yeah, you don't have to spend like over an hour roasting potatoes or squash. You can actually, if you have an instant pot, right, just like chuck them in there like that with the
yeah,
squash and with so many different things. But that's a really great tip actually with those potatoes because sometimes I just don't have time to sit around and wait and for an hour for these potatoes
yeah.
to be cooking.
And
So that's
then, and before we move on from the non or from the starchies, I will say that ever since I went to fruit camp, ever since I went to fruit festival, it brought me back to like, oh gosh, I should be eating less roasted foods, that I should be eating more living and like more near raw foods. And I was just like, I'm kind of in that phase still. So what I did for a good few months now is I've been roasting my sweet potatoes on really low for like 2 hours. Now, is that energy efficient? No, but one day I'm going to have a solar powered oven and I won't care. But at this point, it's not that great in terms of energy efficiency. But like I'll turn on really low in my oven, like 250, and I just like let it go. And it comes out the same like a roasted potato, but it just takes a lot longer. And I'm telling myself that the nutrients are even more preserved that way. That's taking it to next level, but
and just so you know, I've done that too. Like I do that if I have the time, or if I'm home or if I know I'll be home for a while and like I have a few clients or something, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna put the potato in or potatoes in there for like a couple hours. Yeah. So that's a great idea for sure.
Yeah. And there's really a lot of ways to enjoy these foods that we're talking about. And just kind of going back to the grains, like I know that I wouldn't put it past Steph to sprout her grains before she cooks them, like, or to, take the extra step of rinsing and soaking the grains before you cook them. There's all these different levels. I really one day want to create a hierarchy of like, what really is the best way to have grains? Is it, like sprouted, soaked for a certain amount of time, like then cooked at a certain temperature, like we can get into all those nuances, but the fact of the matter that if you're getting them in your body in some capacity, whether they're sprouted or whether they're slow roasted or whether you put them in your air fryer or you, water saute them, like the whole point here is to inspire you to get them into your body. And hopefully you're getting hungry and getting excited about all the different ideas that we're throwing your guys' way. So,
And you also, I love that you said that, because everything that we've talked about, you can create a dish with every item, right? Like you don't have to, just because something's a grain or a starch or a non-starchy or whatever it is, right? Like spice, herb, like you don't have to separate anything out or think like these, you can combine, and even better, combine like your grain and your potato onto like a bed of like greens with a couple different non-starchy veggies and like some like homemade sauce that has like herbs and spices in it, right? And like maybe like a fat source, like some seeds or something like that. And there's like an amazing dish. And I would say that's pretty much my meals. That's like what I do. I'm just like, okay, well, what did I not have today? Like what from all the different food groups did I not have today? And I just put it into like a pile. So yeah.
So good. I'm full, but I'm also getting hungry. So just because we're talking about like, I'm starting to get, I'm starting to salivate. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. And we have to actually add one more category. Oh my Lord. We have to add herbs, and we have to add herbs. Like
I was wondering, I was like, we're not ending at fruit, right?
Like, this is the urban pharmacy. My God.
No.
Like, okay. Let's move on. Let's move on to nuts and seeds. I don't have a favorite. This is too hard for me. So
okay. And we're combining nuts and seeds together, right?
Yes, we're just going to combine it.
Sounds good.
If you have one from each though, there's no rules. So
yeah, I think I actually think for me, my favorite's pumpkin seeds. Yeah, I like pumpkin seeds because I make dressings out of them. And that's what I'm like obsessed with. So I just combine it with like some parsley, maybe a little hemp seed, like just some like lemon juice, and I'll just add a few other things in there. And I just love pumpkin seeds. Like they're so good for you, rich in all these different nutrients, right? And just like awesome. They actually help to support our body's detoxification pathways. They support our liver. Like there's just so much goodness to pumpkin seeds. So I buy mine in bulk. I just buy like these like 3-pound bags of them, and I'm just like putting them on top of like my oatmeal, or I put them inside like my dressings or like a smoothie. I just think they're amazing. So that's
they're so good on top of savory oats. They're also a really great source of zinc. And I think that's really supportive to the immune system, right? Like, but so whenever I think of pumpkin seeds, I used to think of roasted pumpkin seeds that I would, have from pumpkins, etc.
Yeah.
But ever since, it's been a good while, but ever since I started down this path of better living, I understood the benefits of raw nuts. I love raw pumpkin seeds on top of savory oats. And I think that everybody needs to try savory oats with sweet and tart cherries if they can get their hands on both. And then some chopped Swiss rainbow chard. Sounds very weird. I know. Give it a go. Throw in a little turmeric in there if you're feeling extra. You could do cinnamon.
Sure.
And I used to put shoyu in there or umeboshi plum vinegar. Both are quite salty. So you could figure out if you want to do that or not. You could put a little bit of miso paste in there if you want some saltiness, but then top it with those raw pumpkin seeds and really good. The Swiss chard is salty. It's salty. It's a salty green. So
yeah,
you need to try the savory oats. Okay.
I love that. And I also love that you said it's rich in zinc because that's really important to know because for sure it's a really great zinc source and also magnesium too, which is really important, right? And I think there's I feel like I'm seeing this trend right now. A lot of people talking about how a lot of people are deficient in magnesium and different stuff. But when you're getting like a variety of different sources, right, and through our diets and things like that, I think you'll be fine. And so magnesium, so that's another reason why I love pumpkin seeds, and I put them on top of my oats too. So yeah, I think they're great. They're like nice and crunchy, and I do raw pumpkin seeds. I love that you said, like you mentioned that part too, because that's what I buy.
Awesome.
So that's
love it. Yours. Okay, so if I have to choose, I think I'm gonna choose hemp seeds because I love the cannabis plant. So that's my only reasoning. I'm just going to support the cannabis industry through buying hemp seeds. Okay. So there's that. But no, really, I mean, Cohen, after he was done breastfeeding, like I made him hemp milk. It's a great source of omegas and it's packed with different nutrients that are very supportive to development and then also supportive to our palate because they really do take on the flavor. Now they do kind of have a taste, like they're not just like totally bland, but they're like fatty and like unctuous. And I feel like they add a lot of like, they can add thickness, but they can also add, like fattiness to a dressing. And that's going to be my choice for the day.
I love hemp seeds. I also add hemp seeds to my dressings too. Like I'm obsessed with them. Or you can sprinkle it over a salad or something. But yeah, they are really like satiating and I just love the taste of them. Like as I'm like measuring them out, like putting them into like my dressings, like I'm literally eating them at the same time. Yeah. They're so good. So yeah, no,
they're really good.
I actually think hemp seeds are my second favorite. So yeah.
I was going to say Brazil nuts because I really love them too. They just make me very happy, but I got to be careful with them because they're like, they're really good.
Yeah, be a lot of sodium.
They're really good. Okay, before we move on from the nuts and seeds, have you tried pumpfu?
Yes,
pumpkin seed tofu.
Do you like it?
No, I haven't tried it. Did you like it?
Oh, okay. Because I didn't know I didn't know where you were going with that.
I've seen it and I didn't buy it. Do you really?
It's so good. And it's so like, because I love tofu. I could eat tofu like all day long. I think it's so good. But pumpfu, yes, it's like really like, it's extra. Like it's better than tofu. Because it's
really high in fat compared to tofu.
It is
to soy. So I was thinking like, I never bought it. Maybe it was because there was multiple ingredients in it. I don't know, but I feel like it was pretty pure. I don't know why.
It's actually just pumpkin seeds and filtered water.
See? Okay. Maybe it's come a long way because the first time that I saw it was like several years ago.
Oh, you know what? That brand, actually, the pumpfu brand, they have like different kinds. So like their main one, like the basic one is just pumpkin seeds and water. And then the other
incredible.
One, add a bunch of stuff to it. Yeah. So that's probably
yeah. There was probably like a marinated one that I was like, yeah, no, I'm not getting that one.
Yeah. No, but you're right though. They do have a lot of fat. So what I've done is like, I'll just like take like a few pieces of it and I'll just like mix it in with like, I'll make like vegetable skewers or something and just like that. Where it kind of like adds to that extra like flavor, but you definitely probably won't want to eat like the entire package.
Yeah, I'm the type of person that like that tofu is highly palatable to me and I'm not just eating a few pieces. Like I'm going to eat the block. Like, depending on the size of the block, like some of them are huge, but
yeah,
I know. It's just highly palatable and delicious. Okay. So nuts and seeds we've covered. let's go to fruit.
Yay. Okay. Well, I went first on the last one, so you can go.
Oh Lord.
And you just went to your Raw festival
I
recently, so
know.
you should be inspired and you should have some, even though I have a
Well,
feeling I know what you're gonna say.
I don't know. I don't know. Mamey sapote is delicious. Now we're talking tropical fruit, but I have to give people like a fruit that they have access to as well. But Canistel has my heart, like hands down. Egg fruit is like, it's also known as egg fruit. It is so good. It tastes like custard. It is probably fatty, like an, I mean, I don't know the nutritional value of it, but I'm assuming it's fatty, kind of like avocado, but I will buy because it kind of is a texture of an avocado, but it's actually more cakey. And it is the texture of an egg yolk, of a hard-boiled egg yolk, but the flavor of literal cake. Steph, if you haven't had Canistel before and you think that if you think that a Japanese sweet potato tastes like cake, which I did too, I was like, oh my God, that tastes
For this.
like when you eat a Canistel, you're gonna be like, holy crap, I literally just ate an orange Hostess cupcake. Like that
Oh
is what it tastes like to me.
what? Okay, I
So
want to
good.
try it. I need to try.
I sent one to Chef AJ last year. Now, if I get a box from Miami Fruit this year, I will seriously send it to you because you're in California. Miami Fruit doesn't send to
That's
California.
why, yes, that's why I can get it. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh
It's
my
so
God.
good. But
That sounds
to choose an accessible fruit,
amazing.
I would highly, after fruit camp, honestly, I'd never had mangoes like that. Now, when I
Oh,
was in Kauai, the mangoes were epic, but like these, these mangoes that we had, they were from Florida. They were just shipped. I mean, oh my God, I don't
mango.
even know. They were so next level. So I'm not talking about going to the grocery store and getting mango. I would highly seek, I would suggest to the people that are listening to maybe go to their international grocery store, try to find mangoes, or maybe try to find them online that are like not just your standard Kent mango that you get at the grocery, but ones that when you open them up, they're like dripping in juice and they're like golden, you know, just
Oh my
so
God.
good.
Yes, no, I know. It's like where you're like pretty much just covered, like from chin down,
Yeah.
like mango juice. Like that's like, yeah. I know, because I
Yes.
love mangoes because I'm from Florida originally. So I like people like that. My neighbors had mango trees. Like I never had one. I wish I did, but they would share like an abundance of these with us. And my mom and I would just go to town and just eat like a million of
Oh
them.
my God. So
Yes.
good. It's really hard for me to choose. So those are my three right now. What are you thinking? What's going on in your
Okay.
head?
No, mine is so actually I didn't even think of mango, but like seriously, that is I think up until what I'm about to say, I would have said mango is my favorite because mango really is like everything that you just described. Yes, like it's just so so good. Like especially when they're like big thick mangoes and
Oh
you
my
can
God.
really dig in. That's the best. But then I really love jackfruit. Like I'm obsessed with it. I only recently started getting really into it. I go to like my local like Persian or Asian market or whatever. And I go and I just get like a giant one. And it takes me like a solid hour to cut through the whole thing,
Yeah.
but I can like freeze a ton of it. And it's so good frozen. It tastes like, to me, when you freeze it, it tastes like ice cream. Like I'm biting into like
Oh,
ice cream. It's so good. It's the best snack. And to those listening, like, because I used to only when I would have jackfruit, I would just have like it in like like tacos or something, just like very
yeah.
savory.
Savory.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very savory. So I'd never had it like a dessert before. And then but I saw like this Instagram reel of someone cutting one up and I was like, and they were like, it tastes like bubble gum. Like it's so I was like, really? So then I was like, I'm just gonna go try it. So I did. And it actually does have this like really sweet, yummy, like bubble gummy taste to it. Like not mint bubble gum, like that like fruity bubble gum taste like that you see
Yeah.
or something. So so good. Highly recommend it if you can find. Even sometimes they cut them up for you, but like you don't need to go through that whole process. But so good. Jackfruit.
Yum. Yeah, I've only tried ripe jackfruit like one time, and it was probably a decade ago. And I bought like a slice of it from Whole Foods, and I was trying to use it to make like tacos with,
Mm,
but that was before I knew the difference between ripe jackfruit that you eat sweet and then the young jackfruit that you use in savory application.
yeah. Yep. I
And
know.
Now
It's
I have to go and buy it because they have the big look. I mean, I've watched YouTube videos of people opening them. Like, I've never bought a huge one from the Asian grocery store because I'm like petrified because these dudes, they like have this huge machete looking thing trying to get through it. And then they have gloves on because there's like this sticky substance. Steph, you're a trooper.
thank you. Thank you. I was like, because I don't usually go that above and beyond. Like I'm very like, I get like my usual local stuff or whatever, like from stores like Brussels sprouts and broccoli and easy things like, mangoes and whatever. I don't know. But when it comes to the jackfruit, like I will go, like once I had it that first time, I was like, this is like unstoppable. More people need to know about this. So hopefully this podcast reaches a ton of listeners. I'm sure it will. But you need to go to your local store and get like a giant jackfruit and just spend the hour cutting it up. It will last you forever. And it is the best tasting thing ever. And you can put it in like your oats. Like you can put it in a million different things.
Okay. Gotta try it.
It's so good. Yeah.
Gotta try it. Okay. All right. Hold on. Back up. We got to talk about herbs now.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
Then we got to talk, okay, about one more thing. I have like multiple categories that I want to continue adding on here, but let's just talk about herbs and see what we're doing with time because okay, let's do herbs. Let's do herbs.
Okay.
You go first.
Okay, yeah, because you're the urban pharmacy.
Because herbs and spices, like we could do two separate categories there if we really wanted to, but let's just pick an herb or a spice.
Okay, so we're combining it?
Yes.
We're combining it? Okay.
Kind of like we did with nuts and seeds. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with like, I feel like this might be a lot of people's favorite. I don't know, but rosemary is my favorite. I am obsessed with rosemary. I cook with it every single day. Like I don't go a day without it because it's so good for you. It's antiviral and it's just like really supports your immune system, provides so many great nutrients. And it goes so good on like potatoes, like roasting, like making like rosemary potatoes. Oh my God. So good. That's what I usually love to use it with, but then I'll just literally like whatever I'm like I'm sauteing like my blob dishes where I just put a million things into a pot and I just cook it. Like I literally just put a bunch of rosemary in there and it just like, I think it just enhances the flavor of anything. So yeah, obsessed.
So good. Yummy. Yeah. I love rosemary. I've been growing mine for the last few years and like, there's nothing quite like having your own dried rosemary that you can put into the spice mill if you want to, or just chopped up. Like the flavor, it's just.
I grow my own too. It's the one herb that I'm always like, I have to have it. Like I can't not, I'm not gonna go out and buy it because I use too much of it. So
yeah. Like, you gotta be economical here.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to say mine's not gonna be, this is so hard. Mine's in between tarragon and sumac. I love tarragon. People do not use tarragon enough. It's so good. And it's used in herb to Provence in that blend and right alongside lavender, which is up there at the top too for me. Yeah, but so tarragon's my favorite, like green leafy one. And then sumac is like my favorite, like berry, like hard spice. I don't know how long I'm going to have to talk about sumac for people to get on the train, but like if you're trying to reduce your sodium dependency, which I for sure had, literally had to have salt on everything. Like my mother, thanks mom, if you hear this, she carries a salt shaker in her car. Okay. So there's that. Yes, that's next level. If you're trying to reduce your salt, but also if you want to get like incredible pigmentation into your diet, sumac is so vibrantly red, is just packed with vitamins and minerals and phytonutrients. And it tastes like salty lemon umami, in my opinion. Like it hits all the taste buds, in my opinion. I first learned about sumac in za'atar. Za'atar is like used typically in Middle Eastern. Yeah. In the Middle East, and they either use thyme and sumac and sesame seeds or oregano and sumac and sesame seeds, and they'll use it on flatbread with olive oil, and it's just a really popular spice. So that's where I first originally heard about it. And come to find out, sumac grows like in every single state. And it's like the tree that you probably see alongside the road that has these little red like spires. And they're everywhere. So sumac is accessible to everyone. And you could buy it online as well. Just make sure that the one that you buy online doesn't have salt added to it, because sometimes it does. And then speaking stuff of spices, is your favorite brand Burlap and Barrel? Because it's my favorite brand.
Yes, that is my absolute favorite brand. That's like my cabinet's like stock full of like all their stuff.
I just got 3 new ones. I'm actually trying their sumac this time. I usually get my sumac from like local spicery, which is in California. But I also got purple dulse and more turmeric, because their turmeric is the best.
Their turmeric's the best. And that's another one too. That was the one I probably would have said alongside rosemary, is because I add turmeric to everything too. So
Yes.
I just, like you said too, you can add it to your oats. I add it to my smoothies or my ice cream, or just like whatever I'm cooking, just like a little pinch of it. But yeah, let me know how the burlap, I'm sure it's amazing, but I was gonna say, I haven't tried theirs yet.
Their sumac. Yeah.
Yeah, so that I'm sure it's incredible, but I actually need to put an order in anyways, so I'll just add it
There
in.
you go. There you go. I'm
Yeah.
kind of waiting for their Black Friday deal. I'm like, am I gonna just buy their whole store?
Probably. I'll be there right with
Somebody
you.
just give me like $1,000 because I need every flavor.
I know.
So,
Good.
okay. All right, Steph. We're literally at the end of the episode, but I kind of like just, you mentioned it earlier, like fermented food, and then sorry, but we cannot forget about fungi. I'm so sorry, but we can't forget about like shrooms here. Like, I'm just gonna tell you my favorite mushroom on earth, and I can't make a decision right now about it. It's really hard. It's going to be either lion's mane mushroom or chestnut mushrooms. Oh gosh, or blue oyster. I don't even know. I can't decide. I have no decision. There's my top 3. What are yours?
I love lion's mane. I will say that I haven't tried like a ton of different kinds of mushrooms, to be honest with you. That's somewhere that I haven't like dived into. But I really do try to cook with mushrooms like a good amount, just to get like my vitamin D in and get all these amazing, beautiful sources that mushrooms offer. But I'm trying to think of the one that you'll know this. A lot of people use it to cook to, is it the king mushroom? A king, it's like
King oyster.
yeah, is that what people
like it shreds up, and you can also slice it like a scallop as well. Like you
That's it. So people will like, I've been over to like different like plant-based potlucks, and they'll make like scallops out of it.
Yes.
And I'm like,
oh my
I
God, like
different. So that's probably like my one that really has just wowed me that I've had. But I'm
have you
sure
ever tried have you
What?
ever tried morels?
No.
Oh my word.
I know. I feel like you need to send me a list of like all the different mushrooms I need to try, and then I'm gonna go.
Okay,
And
well, morels literally taste like steak. It's very weird. It's very
really?
weird. Yeah, it's so super bizarre. But they are very hard to find, and they're only around for a very short amount of time after the first like spring rain, and it has to be perfect weather. And oh my
Wow.
God. So, anyways, okay, so mushrooms everybody needs to get more of.
Yeah, I think mushrooms are something that a lot of restaurants too are promoting, like or plant-based restaurants are using to mimic the taste of a lot of meats and sushi and things like that. And
It's a
so like
much healthier way to do that than using faux meats.
for sure. So yeah, so that's something that like I feel like a lot of people are getting on like the mushroom train for sure. But
Yeah.
I do need to try whatever the morel, is that what you said?
Oh, yeah. You can buy them dried at Whole Foods or like online. At
Oh,
least get them dried and try them out. Like,
yeah.
yeah. And I really like, I really do enjoy using dried mushrooms and turning them into powder and making like a spice out of that. I think that for people who have textural issues with mushrooms, it's a good way to get in like beta glucan and like, important things, that important plant components that people might not otherwise get. They're good source of prebiotic fiber. And I think that they add good flavor. Like if you were to grind up like shiitake mushrooms and use them as a spice, or add them to your sumac spice, or with a little bit of rosemary. I mean, listen, we could make like a really great spice blend, I think, together.
Oh,
Let's do that on the next show. We'll
yeah.
talk about spice blends. Okay. And then we're done. We're literally done, because I can hear my son about to crash the door open again. But you talked about fermented foods. My favorite fermented food at the moment is kefir. Have you ever made kefir?
No, I've never made it before.
Yeah, I'm trying to like I bought the kefir grains. Most people probably have no idea what it is, but it I'm trying to make like coconut water kefir. And I've been also using it to make like sourdough starter.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah,
Oh,
it's like
amazing.
I don't even really know
Amazing.
how to explain it, guys. So look up water kefir, okay? And
Oh my gosh.
try to do that. What's your favorite fermented food?
I actually love water kefir, by the way. Like that's incredible to me. I think it's amazing. I love that. I actually just had some over the weekend too, and I only recently started having it like maybe a couple months ago. But honestly, I seriously just I love kimchi. Like I really do.
Yeah, it's so
I love
good.
making my own kimchi. I make my own sauerkraut. I make it in these giant things so it lasts me like forever.
Yes,
But it's so I love kimchi. Like it's so good for you. And
it's
just
so good.
yeah.
And if you do you find which do you remember what the pepper is called? Is it a Korean pepper?
Yeah, yeah, Korean pepper.
Yeah, Korean pepper powder. Or,
It's
you guys
something.
need to get that to make it.
Yeah.
It's just the signature flavor of the kimchi.
Yeah, it's so good. It's just amazing. And yeah, if you're not eating enough fermented foods, you definitely want to start diving into that because that's like a game changer. Just amazing, like full of probiotics and just what you need for your body. So
Mhm.
again, start low and slow because
Yes, start low and slow. Don't eat
and
half the jar like I did when I first started learning about the benefits of
oh, that
sauerkraut. I'm like, just give me the whole. Yeah, just
I've been there with like everything. I've
yeah,
seriously
same here.
first one plant-based, I was like just so many vegetables. I was like, this is gonna be great. And then I was like, ow, this is a lot of sugar.
I did that with nut butters for years. I would eat so
Really?
much nut butter, like, and that's just not great. Like, that's just
Yeah,
too much
no,
of one thing, just whatever. Just not ideal. But okay, Steph, we've really gone through the gamut. I think that everybody's inspired. Is there anything you want to leave to close this show up?
yeah, no, I think I'll just say, like, kind of similar to what I said at the beginning of the show, is that if you're, especially if you're new to like to plant-based, or if you are just like trying to like, whip up like some amazing new meal or something like that, like don't let it be stressful. Just what Stacey and I have been talking about, you just have to just add in like different foods, different spices, just experiment with different spices, something you never heard of, or a new squash at a store, like you mentioned, that you've never even seen, and you're like, oh, it looks ugly. Like, oh, I avoid that at all costs. But actually, it's probably going to taste 100 times better than your typical butternut squash or potato that you usually buy. So the key is diversity. Just try a bunch of different things. Just make a big pile out of it, and just it's mush. It's great, and it'll look
It's
good.
mush. I might title the show that. No, mush with the side of spice. Okay, Steph, it was amazing. Thank you so much for being on. And again, I hope that you, as a listener, are walking away from this episode feeling inspired to try some new things, diversify your diet, and get a little bit more plants on your plate. We will see you next time,
Yes.
and have a great day.